Hello, in this tutorial I'll be covering how to use the teacher's dashboard. You'll find the content of this material in the description of the video, as well as the cheat sheet that lists all features and descriptions. So this is what it looks like. It may look overwhelming at first, but its main purpose is to help teachers manage lessons with ease. Please note that you do not need to memorize anything from this tutorial, as there's a cheat sheet you can use to find out what each menu does. However, you do need to make sure that you understand what features there are and what it does before your lessons. The teacher's dashboard is a customized menu within Minecraft that teachers can use to 1. Navigate through Minecraft lessons material with students, 2. Control students such as freezing, teleporting, changing modes, etc. 3. Reward or take away points that are used to buy things in the game. 4. Designate home region where each student can build her house. It does require a bit of practice to get used to it, so please do take some time before your first class and make sure that it feels comfortable. Let's take a look at the menu in more detail. In the sections menu, it's just like a chapter in a book. That is, it takes at a place in the game. It has a dialogue for students and teachers as learning material. Pressing a section number will teleport you to the section's location, and pressing the A next to a section will teleport everyone to the section location. This is the teacher's menu. You can do the following: teleport all the students to you, freeze all students, remove mobs in vicinity, change mode into one of creative, adventure, survival, or spectator. If you're not fully aware of each mode, please Google it and do familiarize yourself so that you can use them in the game. Respawn puzzles is not actually used at the moment, and when it's ready I will cover them in another tutorial. The hometown menu teleports you to a region where students can build their houses. And next, let's look at the students menu. Here you can teleport to student or student to you. Freeze the student, i.e. not all the students, but the student of the menu. Check current section of the student. Change mode of the student. Teleport student to hometown. And lastly, for each student, you can enable or disable lockdown. When a lockdown occurs, student cannot move at all, as well as having blocks surrounded so that the student cannot see anything at all. And you can use this feature for either misbehaving or if you want the student to speak regularly at for example, every 10 or 15 seconds. And in order to remove the lockdown, you can just give student points. This will automatically unfreeze as well as remove the blocking blocks surrounding the student. Right, so let's take a look at the menu in action. In order to bring up the teacher's dashboard, you have to type in PE command, that is PECMD, followed by lesson name or number. In this case, we will use 22, which is basically the start of every student's lesson. As you can see, it teleports student and you to a specific location, and it also brings up the teacher's dashboard. And please note that as the teacher's dashboard is actually shown within the chat menu, all you have to do is press T in order to see the menu. Sometimes the chat screen will contain other messages that are not actually sent by our plugin, so you may need to wait a while in order to see it, or either scroll back and forth in order to find it. The teacher's dashboard, as you can see, is regularly actually updated within the chat screen. Right, so let's take a look at the student menu first. Here you are able to see the student's name, which is temporarily IMXL student, followed by the ID. And you can also give or take away points. In order to give points, you use the numbers in blue, and take away points using the numbers in red. So let's take a look what happens when you give a point to the student. Here you can see there's a little bit of sound effect. It also gives students some health potion so that she can heal. And you can tell that the point has been updated on the right hand side. If you give student 5 points, it actually fires up a firework. Now let's take away some points. As you can see, not only does it take away the points, it also gives a a hurting sound effect. Yeah, and here you can check the current section, which is basically 0, which is where all the lessons start. And when you hover it, you can also see the lesson material, what you're supposed to speak, what you're supposed to ask, and what students supposed to say in response. Here, I will also show you that a student will automatically freeze once a student reaches a section in the game. Here, the student is actually frozen, so no matter what keyboard input or mouse input is given, the player cannot move, the student cannot move, although, as I mentioned earlier, she can look around in order to see the surroundings. And once the student reaches this, or you reach this point, you can just press T in order to see the lesson material, or hover the section, and you can ask the question that you're supposed to ask at each section. So here, you want to ask what happened to the student, and basically the answer is that I can't move because the student is frozen at the moment. And in order to unfreeze the student, you just give student some points. And this will automatically, as well as updating the point, will unfreeze the student so that the student can move again. So let's also try to use some of the teleport commands. So pressing this button will teleport the student. And let's move away from the student so we can test the teleport to menu. See, so you move to the student, teleport to the student when you use this menu, and you freeze the menu. You freeze the student using this menu, and you can also spectate the student, which will automatically take you to the student. And you obviously cannot move yourself as you are seeing from student's point of view. Okay, and you can unspectate, which you will be changed back to, well, you actually remain in spectator mode, so you need to change back to either creative or adventure. Right, and as I mentioned earlier, if you press hometown, oh sorry, this is the student's menu, so yeah, it sent the student to hometown where the student can build houses. I'm actually still in spectator mode. Right, okay. So this is where students can build houses. And please note that a student can only have one region where he or she can destroy or build blocks. It also has a shopping region, which we will cover later. Right, so that's the student menu. Oh, and let's test the lockdown menu. Once you press this lockdown menu, enable lockdown, unless you give student points within a window of time, let's say, the student will be frozen as well as be surrounded by some blocks. And this is actually a countdown, you can see here. And the student will be able to see larger text that of the countdown, so that he or she understands that the student needs to say something or stop misbehaving, basically. So let's just wait until the countdown reaches 0. And please note that it's actually not in seconds, it's actually in ticks, which means that it depends on the server timing, which is a bit complicated to explain, so I won't do that now. But it's not actually seconds, so that's a bit difficult to count yourself. So you will need to rely on this counter. So yeah, so once it reaches 0, as you can see, the student is actually surrounded by these blocks and also frozen within these blocks. So you want to give student points in order to lift the frozen effect as well as remove these blocking blocks. So that's the student menu. Let's take a look at the teacher's menu. It's actually quite similar to student menu, whereas you have the TP and TP2 where you can teleport each student. You have the TP all where you teleport everyone in the game, including all the students. And you also can freeze all, and you have the remove mobs. And if you hover, actually you can see a description of what each menu does. And also the mode menu, which is basically the same. Respawn puzzles, as I mentioned earlier, is not actually used at the moment. Oh, yeah, I want to disable lockdown for the time being. And the sections menu, let's make sure that it works. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also check all the content of the sections. And also, some of these sections will contain functionalities, the commands that actually does something other than just giving you dialogues to speak. For example, it might spawn some mobs, it might destroy some blocks, or spawn a spaceship, for example. I won't show you that here because that's another tutorial. So let's just test the teleporting functionality. As you can see, pressing the number will teleport only you to the section, and pressing the A next to each number teleports everyone to that section. And please note that each section contains some code that freezes the student using the slowness effect potion. So whenever you teleport student to a section, the student will be automatically frozen, and you'll be given this text where, okay, this is a bit of a, I think it's a problem with document, but anyway, you'll be given some of the stuff that you can use to speak with the student, interact with the student, and student will also be able to see these texts as well. But sometimes you might wanna assume that student won't be able to see the text all the time, mostly because the student doesn't know that that it's displayed somewhere within the chat screen window, but it's been overwritten by some other messages. So there are some cases that happens depending on where the student is. So you want to make sure that you read to student what he's supposed to say, or ask what he's supposed to say. I think that's about it for now. I'll cover the rest of the details in another tutorial. Please have fun with students. After all, that's the entire purpose of the existence of Pixel Academy. And I will see you in other tutorials. Thank you.